Hello, everyone. If you see me for the first time, my name is Daisy. So most kids call me Auntie Daisy. Some kids call me Grandma Daisy. Depends how young they are. But today we are going to do the Sabbath school lesson on this YouTube way. And the lesson is about a little man who wanted to see far and he couldn't see because everyone seemed to be taller than him. I don't know if you've ever been to a parade where you want to see the parade but you can't because you're too short. Well, this is what happened to this man. And this man is mentioned in the Bible. There are many little stories in the Bible, different books that talk about this man. But this is a man that Jesus mentioned in the Bible, that he saw, he met with, and his name was, can you read that? Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, Zaccheo in Spanish, and I have no idea in Chinese, but it's a very popular man because he was a very rich man, a tax collector. And so many people didn't like that kind of people. But what was different about this man was that he was actually a good man. When he met with Jesus and Jesus talked to him, he realized that what he had been doing all his life was wrong. And he didn't just say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and continue his life, but what he did was something that was amazing. He wanted to do things right. He wanted to make the bad into good. And so what he said, he was going to give not just one, but twice the money that he had taken from the people. And so the memory verse for this lesson is, "Here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor." How many of you can do that? Will you give half of your clothing to a poor kid on the street? Will you give half of your food to someone that you don't even remember doing something wrong to? But he looked for the poor and he gave half of his possessions to them. So if you want to read the story of Zacchaeus, you have to go to the book of Luke. Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10. And you will see a lot of little scenes in there that you might think, "Oh, but that's in the old time." It's not. If you've done something wrong, it's not enough for you to say, "I'm sorry." When you are truly sorry, you try to do better and you try to fix what you did wrong. So the lesson for today is Zacchaeus, the little man with a big heart. Because he could have given the money that he took away, but he didn't do that. He gave much more than that. And let me read for you a little bit of this story, okay? Zacchaeus lived in Jericho. He had one of the biggest and best houses in town. He was a very rich man, but no one liked him because everyone believed he had cheated people and kept their money. Everyone knew about it, but no one could do anything. Zacchaeus was the chief tax collector for the Romans. The Romans didn't care what he did as long as he gave them the right tax money. So Zacchaeus probably told people that their taxes had gone up. He collected more than he should, and he kept the extra money for himself. When we do things like this, we might get away with it, but there's one that knows everything. And who is that? God, of course. You knew that answer, right? God knows everything we do, everything we think, everything we would like to do. right? So we have to be careful with the things that we do, because there's one that knows everything, not Santa Claus, but God. He knows everything. So one day Zacchaeus heard that Jesus was coming to Jericho. He had heard a lot about Jesus. He had heard how Jesus had healed the sick, the lame, and the blind, and some said that he had raised someone from the dead. All these things made Jesus very special and made Zacchaeus want to meet him. Zacchaeus had heard about the tax collector Levi Matthew. Matthew had left everything to become one of Jesus' closest followers. People talked about it everywhere. Zacchaeus wondered, maybe Jesus has something to say to me. Yes, it was the talk of the town. Jesus was really coming to Jericho. Zacchaeus decided to try to catch a glimpse of the Master. He left his tax station and went out into the streets. But the streets were so full of people. It was so thick, the crowd you just couldn't get through. Even though he was a little man, he couldn't get through. So when he saw that all the way at the end there was a tree, he ran past that. He didn't care whether he could see or not. He just went around and he climbed that tree. He didn't care if it looked silly or if it looked clumsy. It didn't care. He didn't care. So he went up the tree just to see Jesus. Guess what? Jesus knew it. He kept walking, and when he got under that tree, he looked up to the tree and he said, Zacchaeus, come down, because I will go dine with you tonight. Can you imagine? He was going to his home. He had a beautiful home. Everybody knew he had the most beautiful home. So he didn't care that he was going to go and he's going to find a mess. He probably had a lot of people taking care of his house. But he felt, what? How can Jesus go eat in my house? He was so happy. And now the people became very upset. They said, how can he go with a sinner? This man takes the money away from people. They all started talking angry because, you know what? They were jealous. They were jealous that Jesus was going to his house. So they had to make up stuff. Yeah, he was a bad man, but Jesus could go wherever he wanted to, right? Well, they never liked Jesus. Anyway, these people that talked about Jesus, they never liked him. So they criticized him. But it says here, when they were doing this, Jesus told them, today salvation has come to this house. This is the reason the Son of Man came, to seek and save the lost. The lost, sometimes, we don't know who the lost are, but if we're not doing the right things, we might be in that group. And Jesus always wants to take us away from that. So, you know, during this time that we have to be home, we can't really go many places. Don't waste your time. Don't be on the phone all the time. And if you're on the phone, try to look at the beautiful Bible stories there to find. Sabbath is a whole day, not just a few hours when you go to church, not a few minutes when you listen to the stories, but it's from Friday night to Saturday night. You have plenty of time to study what happened in the past so that it never happens to you. Okay? So listen, or no, not listen. Well, you can listen this over again, but read the stories in the Bible. Luke chapter 19, 1 through 10, talks about the story of Zacchaeus and how he was changed. His heart was a good heart. He was just doing the wrong thing. We can all be doing that. So once we change our heart, true happiness will come into your life. Okay? And you can do something fun like this. Just write something, make some shading with paper. I have Zacchaeus, over a tree. That is how I remember this story. You can do any picture. You see some pictures here, more sophisticated. You can write the memory verse and say it many times a day, maybe a couple times a week. And then when you see me again at church, tell me the memory verse, okay? It says, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. Luke 19, verse 8. Try to memorize that. I will have little gifts in my Sabbath school classroom. If you tell me the memory verse when we come back to church, I will have a gift for you. All right? Have a good, beautiful Sabbath day.